Okay, so this video is just to recap everything that we covered in the Beyond the Basics crochet class. So we start off, basically we're working in the round, so we're creating a circular piece of crochet, and usually we start a circular piece of crochet with something called a magic circle, and that is essentially a ring around which we put our first row of stitches. So we'll basically build them around this circle, and then that'll give us a little structure to build on basically. So to create your magic circle, you're going to wrap the yarn around your fingers, and as you bring it around the second time, you're just going to cross it like that, so it crosses over. Then you're going to take your hook and you're going to go under at the top of the cross there. You're going to go under, and then you're going to go over and grab the yarn on the other side there and pull it through underneath. And as you come up, you kind of twist around because you're sort of going clockwise with your hook like that. And then we're going to remove, you're going to grab hold of just the base of that loop on your hook there, just so it's, and the circle, so that it's not going to run away. Take your hands out, and then you're going to make sure your yarn is ready there. Swap your fingers over to hold on to it, and you're going to do one chain. And what that does is it just secures your circle. So you've got this lovely loop here that we're going to grow some stitches around, and then you've got this tail, and if you pull on the tail, you'll see that that loop starts to close, but you want to leave it open for now because we're going to be putting some stitches around it right now. Okay, so with a circular piece of crochet, you're going to be using as a bit of a mathematical formula really, because you're going to be increasing your stitches in every round. Usually, or sometimes I should say, not every pattern's the same, but you'll probably start off with maybe 6 stitches in the middle, and then the next round, so that as you grow your circle outwards, we'll have 12, and then you'll increase by 6 again, so you have 18, 24 as you go round. So let's do 6 double crochet into the center. So instead of going into a chain as you would if you were doing working in rows, we're going into the center of the magic circle. So we go in there, grab the yarn, we'll just do 6 double crochet and pull it through both. And just as you create your stitch, just scooch it over. Just a bit of fluff there. This is 3. Four. 5. And I'm just going to pull on the tail there just to start to bring that circle in. Oops. And 6. There we go. If I pull on that little tail there nice and tight, brings everything in a bit closer, so it looks like it's going to be easier to join this circle up now that we've pulled it tight. So you end up with this sort of little flower, sort of burst of flower in the middle, and then you've got these stitches around the outside here. So if you turn them on the edge, you can see these chain shaped stitches. Each one of these is 1 double crochet, or it's the top of your double crochet stitch. So we can count round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Okay, now to join your round, to make a nice neat circle, what we're going to do is, something called a slip stitch. So I'm just going to take the tail out of the way so it's not sort of getting in my way, and then I'm going to go into stitch number 1 with my hook. I'm going to grab the yarn, pull it through, and I'm also going to pull that also through the loop that was already on my hook, and so that will now close up that circle, and we've completed round 1. Okay, so now we're going to work into the stitches around the outside. So those 6 double crochet stitches that we've already created, we're going to work into each of those, but because we're moving on to our second round, we need to increase the number of stitches from 6. We're going to go up to 12, and to do that we're going to make our stitches, we're going to do 2 stitches into each double crochet. So we're going to go into there to do the first one, and then we'll do a second stitch in there, and then we'll move round and we'll do 2 stitches under there, 2 stitches under there, 2 stitches under there, and so on all the way around. Now I'm going to show you a treble stitch. Now treble stitches are that bit taller, they're about double the height of a double crochet. So for a treble, you're going to wrap the yarn around your hook before going into the stitch, and then you grab your yarn and pull it through, and then you're going to complete the stitch by pulling the yarn through the first 2 loops and then pulling the yarn through the second 2 loops. So that's 1 treble. And then we're going back into, see where the treble is emerging from that hole there? If I follow it down, we're going back in there to do another treble. So we're doing 2 in that same double crochet from the previous round. So back through the first 2 loops and then back through the second 2 loops like that. And then we're moving around. So we're moving to the next double crochet. So we're going to wrap the yarn, go into that stitch and pull it up. And you might find that depending on the tension of your yarn, you feel like you're being pulled around a little bit. So just make those loops a bit taller so you're not working too tightly and you don't feel like you're being kind of yanked around the corner. And then we're going back into that same stitch to do another treble. Okay. Oops. Sorry, just yanked the camera. And then we move on to the next one. So we'll do wrap our yarn into there, one treble, back in again, and so we're about halfway around. As you can see, I'm keeping these loops that I'm pulling through quite long in comparison to the one that's on my hook. I don't want to be working with this nice and tight close to my work like that, otherwise there won't be any space for me to pull the yarn back through these loops. And also it's just going to tighten it so much that everything's going to curl up into a little ball and it's just going to turn into a bowl. So we want to keep the loops nice and long. It looks like they might be too baggy when you first do it, but in actual fact keeping them long just enables you to travel around the curve of the circle So we've done 2 there, so we're moving on to the next one. T-shirt yarn has got a bit of stretch to it, so it does tend to curl up a little bit anyway. But to avoid it, just go kind of looser on the stitches. Okay, let's have a quick count. I think I've got one more to do, but we'll double check in a second. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yes, I've got one last one to do. Okay. So when you've reached the end of that round, then you're going to join it by going into this stitch here, which is your first loop into the stitch number 1. So you're going to go into there, grab your yarn, pull it through, and also put it back through the stitch on your hook, which completes your circle basically. And then when you're traveling around to your next circle, your next round, then we're going to increase again. So you're going to be doing 18 stitches. Now some, depending on the tension of different yarns, you might find that instead of going to 18, you could go to 24. So instead of doing, for 18, you would do 1, 2 stitches, 1 stitch, 2 stitches, 1 stitch, 2 stitches. You would go and do 2 in each. And if you find that you're at this point, your yarn is already curling up because it's feeling a little bit tight, then I would suggest, if you're making a pattern up yourself or sort of following along one, that you actually increase your stitches a wee bit more so that you've got 2 in each. If I did 18 now, I can feel this is already curling in like that. You see, if I leave it to its own devices without sort of giving it a bit of a stretch and a pull. So I'm tempted to do 2 in each. But really, a pattern that you're following will suggest the type of yarn you should use, and it will generally give you instructions on how to increase and the numbers to increase to based on that type of yarn. So in theory, if you follow along with the pattern, you know, you're not going to meet any problems. But it's as if you're really just sort of like freestyling it. Then I would suggest, if it's curling up like that, go for a larger increase on the next round. So basically, to carry on the next round, we're going to go into the first stitch, the first empty double crochet along from where we are. So I'll just remind you where we're at. So here is the stitch that we used to close the circle. There's the top of the slip stitch, and if you look along, the next stitch along is that one. So we're going into there. Sorry, I haven't wrapped. I'm doing trebles, so wrap your yarn into there, and again. Yeah, and it is curling a little bit, so I am going to do 24. So I'm going to go into the next one and do 2 in there as well. sorry. And just by doing that already, it's flattened out and it's settling down a bit more now. So you just carry on 2 in each all the way around. That brings your circle out to about here. And then for the next round, I would suggest if you've done another 2 in each round, then the next round should be 1, 2, 1, 2 all the way around. But as a rule of thumb, multiples of 6 usually works. I've just adjusted this really because it happened to be so tight. I could feel the tension wasn't really working. But yes, so you can see you've got nice tall stitches going around the outside. And we've got our little doubles in the middle. If you wanted to make a bowl, you would continue making your base until you've got it to the size that you want to. So keep increasing your circles until you reach the base size. And then when you're happy with that size, you do your slip stitch at the end of that circle to complete the round. And then you would just do 1 stitch in each. So 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 all the way around. You could do trebles, but I would suggest doubles, because a treble, if you see the size of it, the side of this, if I curl this up as if it was the side of a basket, it's a little bit squashy and flimsy because it's a double height stitch. If you did doubles, 1 in 1 all the way around, then you're going to get a sturdier wall to your basket or pot. This t-shirt yarn actually makes really good pot holders. So if you've got a plant pot with a little saucer underneath it, and you place it inside one of these little baskets, they're really effective. They look really cool. Okay, so give me a shout if you've got any questions at all. I'm just going to pop this on YouTube and then send you a link to it so that you can re-watch it as much as you like. Yes, give me a shout with any questions, and hopefully I'll see you in another class one day. Cheers, bye.